Hello folks, Jeremy is here again for another unboxing. As always, what else am I here for? It's pretty much this, unless I'm sitting in the other room getting all existential and emotional and all that crap. But no, we have another unboxing, and I'm not going to hide from you. You see what it is. We have our Legacy figures for the Power Rangers movie. Now, I wanted to do this video a while ago, but I've actually had a hard time finding these. I went to Toys R Us a couple months ago, and I saw these on the shelf, and I was like, I kind of want them right now. I don't really have the cash on me because they are kind of expensive. They're 20 bucks a pop. And I said, you know what? I'll just grab Alpha because I figure Alpha might be the harder one to find. And I went up to the front desk, and the guy's like, "Oh, the street date isn't out for these yet." And then they fumbled around for a little bit, and they finally let me buy him. I'm like, okay, well, the street date is in a couple of days, so I'll come back and I'll get the rest of them. They weren't on the shelf. I went to other Toys R Us. They just weren't there. Nobody had them. Online, they didn't have them. And then within the last week, actually, I went on the Toys R Us website, and they were having an online sale. And I got the other 4, everybody except for Jason, because Jason was sold out online as well. So I got those. And I finally did another tour of some other local Toys R Us, and I finally found a Jason as well. I don't understand why he was the hard one to find. Where is he? Right here? Yeah, why he was the hard one to find. Even looking on the shelf at mine now that they have the other ones, Jason's still not there. I don't get it. I don't understand what it is. Maybe that's just how it is locally, but I'm sure everybody else has these by now. Maybe I'm just super late to the party, but I'm glad to say I finally have all of the Legacy figures for the movie. The movie itself, I loved it. If you watched my previous videos, or if you listened to the podcast, No Pink Spandex that I'm on, how much we love the video. We did a 3-part podcast about it. But anyway, all that aside, I want to talk about these figures. These Legacy figures, as you can see on the sticker in the front of them, these are Toys R Us exclusive. You cannot buy them anywhere else where all the other Legacy figures are sold. And this still continues the Build-A-Figure line. I think it's a little shady, just a tiny bit shady, I want to say, because no offense to Bill Hader or the movie staff or anything like that, but I don't think anybody is really clamoring for an Alpha 5 Legacy figure, especially a movie version Alpha 5 Legacy figure. Maybe an old school one, but even then, it's a bit iffy. And the thing is this is where the Build-A-Figure concept comes in that I've talked about in the past. If you look at the back of the box, Alpha is the majority of the Megazord. He is the torso. Everybody else is a limb or just another piece of him. He's a large chunk of him. And so if you want this entire Megazord, Build-A-Figure Megazord, you have to buy the Alpha. And I'll be honest, I would not have bought Alpha if that wasn't part of it. If I didn't need Alpha in order to actually get the whole thing completed. It's just not a design that I'm in love with. It's not an actual Ranger or a villain or anything like that. It's just not something that feels necessary. So I'm torn on that, especially an extra 20 bucks. Again, guys, even if you're getting it on sale, because the sale I got was 15% off, it's still quite a bit. Now, as far as unboxing these figures, it's going to take a long time to go through every single one of them. So I figured I would unbox one male, and I'll unbox Jason because I have the old Jason that I've talked about in the past, the one that was a special San Diego Comic-Con version of him, and I want to just compare those two. And I'll unbox one of the female figures to just show the differences between the male and the female, and to just judge the figure on its own merits. And then I'll also unbox Alpha, because obviously he's a completely unique figure. No offense to Billy, who's my favorite character, and Zach, and one of the other girls, haven't decided yet. But I want to, for brevity's sake, and so I can really talk about everything here, I want to just, do the bare minimum. And again, there's no real huge difference between the figures. I'll show them to you quickly because I need to get the other limbs out. But to go into details on each individual one, it seems a bit unnecessary. So anyway, what do we want to do first? I think we will go with Jason, and we'll just do the comparison, so to speak, and take a good look at him as a figure. I think that makes the most sense. So again, the box, it's very basic. Looks like all the other Legacy boxes has the Ranger on there, whoever's in the box. Pretty generic top. Colors are slightly different based on the Ranger. Nothing really on the bottom. And then on the back, it's just the list of figures and the Megazord. So, there is one little tape over here. There's one little tape over here. That's really all there is to it. Also, I do want to say, since I did recently do my review of the last of the MMPR Legacy figures, there are more in-space figures out. I have not found them yet anywhere. I believe Target tends to have this sort of stuff first, so I'll keep checking. But until then, not much to say. So Jason comes with the left hand of the Megazord. Not a lot there. I mean, honestly, that's a pretty small piece for a Build-A-Figure. But I figured it's Jason. Everybody wants Jason. Oh no, his leg popped off. Get back on. Get back on. There it goes. Alright, good to go. Minor surgery had to be accomplished. Oh, his wrist. Broken wrist. Come on. There it is. At least everything comes apart and goes back together pretty easily around here. This is his weapon, his sword from the movie. If you've seen the movie, you know he's the only one with an individual weapon. I'm guessing, looking at these other ones, nobody else has anything. Doesn't look like it. So, get the little sword in his hand. And Jason, so initial thoughts. Again, I've done the review similar to this before, so there's probably not a lot here new to say, but there's a lot of articulation, just like all the other Legacy figures. Ball joints for all the limbs. The limbs even have, movable circular joints. All the joints at the knees, double jointed at the knees actually, double jointed at the arms. Ball joints for the wrist as well. And same thing for the feet. There's just a lot there. The details are good. I mean, I think this is what we needed with the basic figures, this level of detail, to really get an appreciation for the movie suits, so to speak. And again, there's even on the back, it doesn't have all of the color, but it has a decent amount of it. It has all the blue lights, and the gray piping is on the back. You're not really seeing anything like that on the legs and the lower torso. It's a little bit devoid of color, not entirely. You can see all the little swirly designs on the morphers, even though the morphers weren't even used in the movies, which I still think is just odd that they didn't use it. And yeah, I'll take a quick look. Comparatively speaking, now this is the one that was the San Diego Comic-Con. Obviously, like design-wise, it is the exact same figure. All of the coloring is in the same spots. There's no difference there whatsoever. The weapon is the exact same weapon. Now, the color-wise, the weapon looks like it's a slightly darker red with the exclusive San Diego Comic-Con, and that also comes with the fact that the San Diego Comic-Con one, was it San Diego Comic-Con or was it a different convention? It might be New York, and I'm just getting the wording wrong. Could have been New York. Anyway, the Comic-Con figure is a slightly more translucent red, which I actually do think works really well with the figures. I said this before when I did the basic review of the figures, is that you could buy the basic figures in the store for like $10 a pop, or at Target, you could have, for $50, you could have gotten all 5 figures plus a special Goldar figure that wasn't released anywhere else. So you were getting that Goldar figure free. And the difference was that those figures were more of this translucent plastic as opposed to the more flat matte one. And I thought that based on the way that the suits were designed, that the translucent looked better. I still think that's true, although I think that the color, this is more of a natural red, and this is a slightly more maroonish, which is a bit of a difference. So if you could get the translucent but keep this sort of red color, that would be ideal. But overall, I mean, it's just a very good, solid figure. Again, I've said this before in the past with the Legacy reviews, and I don't want to be a broken record with it, but the Build-A-Figure is not my favorite. I prefer weapons. Granted, with the movie figures, there are no weapons to speak of for any of the other Rangers. I mean, Jason has the only weapon there is, so that's not really a sticking point with this specific line. But overall, I still stand firm in saying that the Legacy figures would do better, I think, selling-wise and just general appeal to collectors like me, if they had weapons as opposed to build a Megazord pieces. Again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's lots of people out there who prefer the build a Megazord. And if you do, you know, let me know in the comments below. I appreciate the counter theories. I love hearing that sort of stuff. I love hearing the differences, so to speak. But yeah, that's just my general opinion. You know, guys, different stories for different folks. And of course, you're talking about figures that are 20 bucks a pop. Getting this entire line set me back a good $120, $130 with tax. So I think it's fair to have your opinions on that sort of matter. Anyway, I'm just going to start grabbing some pieces quickly too while I keep talking. Legacy line in general, I'm still very torn on it. I love the general concept. I think there's a lot right about it, but I also think there's a lot that could be improved. Anyway, Zach comes with a foot, with a leg. I'll just set it aside for now. I just think that for $20, you really have to be giving collectors exactly what they're looking for in a line, especially if you're looking for them to buy every single figure in a line. And when you're talking about someone like me, who wants them to get to other series, other Legs and Billy, who wants them to get to other series that I really love, because I know like Zeo and Dino Thunder are coming up. The only way to get to more series is to sell the current ones. So that's kind of why I'm so passionate about this as well, is because I'm like, yes, I want this line to be perfect for me, but selfishly, I'm also thinking like long term, where I want them to have the best possible features to make sure the series keeps going. And Kimberly comes with the wings, appropriately so, actually, for the Megazord on the back. Put you aside, Kim. Anyway, next up, I'm going to open up Trini. I decided on Trini instead of Kimberly because everybody picks Kimberly. And, you know, Trini I think was a bit cooler of a character in the movie. Anyway, so we will slice her open. Well, not slice her open. That's Rita's job. So we'll pop her open to get the other arm. So now we have everything necessary except for the torso, which, you know, again, is the friggin' bulk of the Megazord. I mean, look how much that takes up compared to this stuff. Anyway. Again, no more weapons for any of the other figures. Pop her out. Alright. Alright, Trini. Pee in this cup. Let's see. It's also interesting because we don't have very many Legacy figures that are female that don't have the skirt, too. I think she's kind of a little extra flexible compared to what I would like. I feel like the joints aren't super tight. Articulation-wise, it has all the articulation as the others. I didn't mention before, there is a waist articulation on them, too. Let's see. It doesn't actually have all of the gray on the back that the male figure does. That's something I'm noticing too. It has the blue lines, but the gray piping is not on him. Let me see Kimberly. Kimberly doesn't have it either. No, so the female figures don't have the same gray piping on the back. Do the males? Do the males? Yeah, they do. So that's just a male to female difference on the figures. So it is good to open up them all. No other real color on the back, just the blue lights. Standing wise, it seems like it's another one of those things where you have to find the sweet spot to keep it standing correctly. But once you do it, it's pretty solid once you do. But again, proportion wise, I actually think that compared to the movie, the figures are a little more in moderation, so to speak, when it comes to the boob action. You know, they're not smacking them out there in your face, and the feet don't have the weird high heels that they do in the movie. So the actual figure design kind of wins in that respect, where it's not too over sexualized. If that is a sticking point for you, I know it is for some folks, and I totally understand that. But yeah, again, it's a very good, solid figure. $20 worth, I think, I guess so. You know, it's tough. Because when you're talking about figures like these, which I do feel like lacks some of the sort of amazing details that we would like in these deluxe figures, and when you're considering the fact that there's no weapons and all you get is a limb for a Build-A-Figure that you may or may not want, I still wish these figures were more at like a $15 price point. I understand why where they're at. For figures of this height nowadays, $20 tends to be pretty standard, unfortunately, because I mean, I'm not the oldest guy in the world. I'm older than some fans, but excuse me. I remember when like Marvel Legends started, they were more like a $12 figure, I believe, and now they're $20 figures, and that's the same sort of line we're talking about with these figures, the same sort of size, packaging, and figures and everything inside. So I don't know, man, it's tough. It's tough. You have to really like be willing to spend the disposable income if you want to get everything and just have these complete lines. And I just wish they would go an extra step. You know, it feels like they're almost there, but they're just a step away, and that's a little disappointing. Anyway, we will open up our last figure, our Alpha. This guy's been sitting on my shelf for months, waiting to be opened. And finally, that day is here. Ay, ay, ay. All right, pop Alpha out. Our torso. Get our Alpha. All right, let's look at Alpha first, because he's the most unique figure of the line. Again, this is where it gets tough, too, because Alpha is such a small figure compared to the others that it's really hard to quantify his overall value, especially when he's not an actual Ranger. He stands up surprisingly well. Boy, he seems a lot like his basic figure. Like, it feels like he's marginally taller, if that. You know, he's got the weird saucer head. It does have some nice details on it. Got the nice little green there. That looks nice. He actually is the most painted figure of them all, surprisingly. All of his colors go all the way around to the back. That's kind of, not ironic, but just a weird thing. But yeah, he's a decent figure. But again, like, just for his size, there's so much less plastic to him that he is the one that, out of them all, definitely doesn't feel like a full $20 value. Now, part of that might be with the fact that he does have the most of the Build-A-Figure. But even then, you know, when it's a figure you're not super psyched on in general, you question the value. Anyway, so now let's complete the Build-A-Figure, and I will just give you some general thoughts on that as well. Okay, let's see. Pop the lid. Oh no. Well, that is the most disappointing thing in the world, guys. My figure snapped. The part of this snapped when I was putting it together. The little ball joint just snapped off. I'm gonna have to see if Toys R Us can get me a replacement. But that is a severe disappointment right there. Yeah, just trying to put on the leg, the ball joint snapped. Well, let's see if we can keep this going. Let's see if we can put the rest of it together. And I will recover from that severe disappointment. My poor figure. Why? Why? Oh. Thankfully, I ordered it online and I still have my receipt. But, oh, so much disappoint. So much disappoint. Put the arms on. Put the little wings on. And now he's a-hopping around. He's a-hopping around. But yep. Can't fix that. Little broke. Let's see. Looking at this as a whole, you know, ignoring the fact that this leg isn't sticking on, there's actually a ton of detail in this Build-A-Figure Megazord. Like, it has all the individual Ranger colors. It has so much little, like, detail in all the little piping, in the legs, in the back. Like, the actual Build-A Megazord figure, I think, is more impressive than the Ranger figures. Now, obviously, there's going to come the problem of, like, are you even a fan of this design? Like, do you like this new Megazord? Because I know a lot of people do not, which I totally understand. I'm still somewhere middle of the road of it. But, like, just even the shiny reflectiveness in the helmet is really nice, and in the chest, it's such a nice color. I kind of wish they were used a color closer to that for the actual Ranger figures. But, and then even the wings, you know, there's so much design there. The colors are so, like, smooth that it's just a fun Build-A-Figure. Like, this is something I do want to display. Like, I actually like this more than the Astro Megazord and the old school Megazord that they already have from the previous line, in the Ninja Megazord. Like, I think that's just a really cool, like, colors. Like, if they can keep up this sort of consistency for Build-A-Figures, you know, they're not the worst thing in the world. Now, yes, I still stand by what I said. I still prefer weapons. But this is not bad at all. So I can understand the value behind it, even if it's not, you know, my preference, so to speak. And I'm going to try to set him up here hobbled. Oh, all right. Stay there hobbled. He's actually, works surprisingly well. But again, guys, that's all I really have to say about this line as a whole. I don't want to, you know, keep repeating myself, so to speak, but just general viewpoints. I think this line is nicely detailed. I feel like they could go another step that would make these $20 figures feel like they're worth $20. Right now, they're more worth $15 to me a pop. I think that's a much fairer, more reasonable price. If they want to go to weapons, if they want to add more details, if they want to, if they were really bold and did weapons and build a figure, which I'm sure if they did, they'd jack up the price. But if they did both of those at $20, great. I'd be down with it. But ultimately, my main concern is the figures themselves. I like the figures to have as much detail. That includes paint applications, everything right, silver belts. I'm looking at you. But I prefer all of that over any of the extra little bells and whistles, the weapons, the Build-A-Figure, all that sort of stuff. I prefer the baseline figure to be as good as humanly possible before anything else is considered, to me. But again, different strokes, different folks. I've said it before. That's my review of the Power Rangers movie Legacy line Toys R Us exclusive. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you will pray for me as I email Toys R Us to get a replacement piece, hopefully. Fingers crossed. But until next time, I just really hope you enjoyed this video, and just know that I will have more exciting reviews coming up for you soon. I hope you checked out my recent Q Ranger videos, my loot unboxings, and I'm sure there's more to come. I think we're in a bit of a lull right now, unless I find the rest of the Space Legacy figures, which I guess is fine because I just shot out a bunch of videos in a row. And I have a lot of stuff coming up in my personal life that's going to be distracting me a little bit, so hopefully I do have a bit of a lull. But until next time, I am Jeremy, aka Captain Subpar, saying to you forever and always, please just like this video if you liked it, comment if you have anything you'd like to say, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet, ring that bell if you'd like to be notified of my new videos when they come out, and the best thing you can do for me as always is to share this video with your friends and your family, and people who enjoy the new movie, who like these little wacky figures and all that sort of good stuff. But I, Jeremy, Captain Subpar, other stupid names, all that sort of good stuff, forever and always. I say this many times, which I guess is forever and always, but I am going to be King of the Geeks. Like, look what it did. Like, see, that's fine. But then right here, the little ball joint, it just snapped just like crack, snap, crackle, pop. Very disappointing on a personal level, but I will survive.